Throughout the history of the Earth, millions of species of living things have existed on it. Some animals actively evolved, surviving for tens or even hundreds of millions of years. Others died out before they were born. In our new issue, we have prepared the top 5 most deadly animals in the history of the Earth. But before we begin, be sure to subscribe to our channel. If you liked the video, then put a like, and if you have something to say on the topic of the release, then write your independent comment and be sure to click on the bell to not miss new interesting releases from the channel. The 5th line of our top is occupied by Smilodon. Smilodon was a prehistoric cat that is often called a saber-toothed tiger, but in fact they had nothing to do with the tigers that exist in our time. The correct term for Smilodon and its closest relatives is coed saber-toothed. Smilodon was the largest of the saber-toothed cats and one of the largest predators among mammals that ever roamed the Earth. They lived throughout the Americas, favoring habitats with a perfect mix of forests and fields that allowed them to hunt large, slow-moving herbivores. It is likely that it hunted in groups, perhaps living in prides like African lions. According to paleontologists, there is hard evidence that elderly or injured members of this family were supported by other members of the group, despite their inability to hunt. When hunting, Smilodon could only stalk its prey for a short period of time, as its tail greatly disturbed its balance. Smilodon most likely had to use trees or bushes to ambush their prey and attack suddenly. Surprisingly, their impressive fangs were very fragile and easily broken. Therefore, this species could not hold prey with its teeth like a lion does. Instead, using their sheer size and powerful forelimbs, they could knock down an enemy with a powerful lunge. And, once the victim was pinned to the ground by the predator's first attacker, the other cat would clamp down on the trachea with its teeth, thus using its powerful jaws to strangle its victim. Thanks to the abundance of fossils found throughout the Americas, we can conclude that Smilodon was a very successful predator. But to this day, his disappearance remains a mystery. There is speculation that its disappearance was due to the extinction of large herbivores shortly after humans colonized the Americas about 13,000 years ago. To describe the 4th deadliest predator of all time, we need to travel far back in Earth's past, to the Cambrian era about 500 million years ago. At that time, our world was completely unrecognizable. The entire Earth was covered in rocks, much like Mars. But back then, the oceans were already teeming with life. For many millions of years, evolution had progressed very slowly, and most of the animals that had existed up to that point were primitive creatures that were just floating along. It was at this time that life on Earth began to evolve in a completely new direction. The first predators appeared, and the largest and deadliest was a strange invertebrate creature called Anomalocaris. At the time, Anomalocaris was the largest animal on the planet, measuring about 2 meters long. It had a flexible, segmented body, large eyes, and a round mouth with razor-sharp plates. Anomalocaris was completely unlike any animal in existence today. Unfortunately, its unique features disappeared with it. It is quite possible that Anomalocaris lived in small shoals, traveling through tropical coastal waters in search of prey. Anomalocaris was capable of eating anything, but most of all it favored the famous trilobites, of which there were a huge number of species at the time. Trilobites were not easy prey, however, as their hard shell provided them with a serious defense. To cope with this, Anomalocaris used its bent forelimbs to grab and hold its prey as it hunted. Anomalocaris fossils have been found in Canada, China, and Australia. Initially, scientists were confused as to exactly what the creature looked like and believed that the fossils found belonged to 2 different species of animals. It wasn't until the 1980s that scientists realized that the fossils were actually part of one large animal. In 3rd place, we have the Tyrannosaurus Rex, the most popular and famous of all dinosaurs. It was a massive bipedal creature with a powerful tail, huge head, and tiny front legs. Tyrannosaurus lived on the dry and open plains of North America during the Cretaceous period, where it constantly roamed in search of prey. Its main diet was other large dinosaurs. Tyrannosaurus is believed to have had an exceptional sense of smell, which it may have used for both hunting and searching for carrion. Tyrannosaurus's main weapon was its huge jaws with jagged teeth and a powerful bite. Its jaws were over 1 meter long, and Tyrannosaurus's curved and serrated teeth were often the size of a human palm, and were used to attack prey while hunting. Because of its jaw structure, Tyrannosaurus was unable to chew its food, so it tore off pieces of its prey's flesh, swallowing it whole. According to some reports, it could swallow up to 350 kilograms of meat in one meal. Such feeding meant that Tyrannosaurus was constantly in danger of dying from suffocation, and in support of this theory, a fossilized Tyrannosaurus body was found with 2 bones lodged in its throat. Another puzzling physiological feature of Tyrannosaurus was its 2 tiny short forelegs with 2 toes. It was long unclear what they were used for they were too short to reach its mouth and too weak to provide any means of defense or hunting. There is a theory that they may have been used as part of a mating ritual. For a long time, Tyrannosaurus remains the most famous dinosaur, appearing as the main character in countless books, movies, and television programs. Its familiar and easily recognizable shape makes it one of the symbols of paleontology, and many scientists consider it the most important fossil of all time. Another surprising fact of the dinosaur era was that the mighty predator occupying the second line of our top was not a dinosaur. It was Leopleurodon, a marine reptile of enormous size, reaching 25 meters in length. Despite its size, it could glide silently through the warm tropical shallow seas of the late Jurassic period. In the water, it moved by alternately flapping its giant flippers, a form of swimming that was quite unique to Leopleurodon and its closest relatives, known collectively as plesiosaurs. With a very keen sense of smell, Leopleurodon could smell its prey at a considerable distance and, like sharks, follow the odor back to its source. He also had very good eyesight, and as soon as he spotted suitable prey, he would quickly pick up speed using his huge flippers. So here it is actually, the deadliest predator of all time, standing on the pedestal of our top. It's a very familiar animal to everyone. If you want to see it, all you have to do is just look in the mirror. We often refer to ourselves as humans, but scientifically we are known as Homo sapiens, or man of reason. Our ancestors first evolved in East Africa about 190,000 years ago, and for a long time that's where we lived for most of our history. There was very little indication that we would one day dominate the planet, but about 90,000 years ago things began to change. We left Africa, and within just 50,000 years large human settlements had formed in Asia, Europe, and the Far East, including Australia. The first humans of Europe are often called Cro-Magnons, after the name of the place in France where they were first found. Cro-Magnons shared the European continent with another very famous human species, the Neanderthals. While these older humans were well adapted to their environment, in turn, Cro-Magnons' ability to think abstractly and their ability to solve complex problems helped them adapt relatively quickly to their Ice Age environment. Cro-Magnon people made flint knives and spearheads, ropes and tight-fitting woven clothing using their outstanding tool-making skills. This allowed them to hunt more efficiently and produce more food. They also learned to process and even store food more efficiently for later consumption. Cro-Magnons supplemented their meat-based diet with edible plants, fruits, and vegetables, which means they probably didn't rely on hunting as much as Neanderthals did for most of their history. For most of their history, Homo sapiens shared the world with other humans, but 28,000 years ago, Neanderthals and some other human ancestors became extinct. The ingenuity of the same Homo sapiens allowed them to survive the Ice Age, colonize much of the globe, and discover new ways of living together. Through the power of invention, such as the invention of agriculture in the Middle East 11,000 years ago, it changed our species and set us on the path to the world we live in today, a world of constant technological change. The extraordinary ingenuity of Homo sapiens allowed us to effectively transcend the natural order. We began to produce our own food through farming, allowing populations to grow exponentially. This process has accelerated over millennia, and the human presence on the planet now stands at 7.5 billion. Humans now have a huge impact on the Earth's limited resources and many of its ecosystems. As a result, we can safely be called the deadliest predator that has ever existed. Moreover, our ingenuity allows us to produce weapons to destroy anything from flies to whales. We even try to destroy certain harmful bacteria and viruses using various forms of medicine. But the worst part is that because of military conflicts and crime, we kill members of our own species. At least 500,000 people die at our hands every year. But that's another story. Thank you for watching this episode to the end. Now you know a little more about the history of the animal world of our planet. If you like the theme of our channel, then be sure to subscribe and click on the bell, which will timely notify you of the release of new interesting releases from the channel Age of Dinosaurs.